Hey everybody, and welcome to my video that I make every week that goes out with our with the announcement for what's happening in the week. I try to outline the things that are coming up, things to look out for, that type of thing. So you survived week one, awesome. A lot of you did very well. You got all your activities done, so that you are in for the extra credit points. That's great. But even if you didn't do it, you need to complete those week one tests, because there's going to be really important that you do those for your future success in the class. So, for example, you have to make sure that you signed up for Connect to get at the e-text and the homework assignments. I'm going to show you those in a minute. You should have read Chapter 1. One thing I wanted to point out in Chapter 1, I didn't realize they made a little change to the text that I didn't realize that they did. Until I read through Chapter 1 real quick. They introduced the concept of the time value of money. It's a really fundamental concept in finance that you use all the time. So it's a real important one to understand. So I suggest you do the, you don't have to do all like the homework and that kind of thing, but just the some of the problems at the end of the chapter, and just make sure you can figure it out and understand how to do them. It won't be graded or anything like that, but it's just something really important that you understand that. Okay. You should have taken the test 1, which the syllabus test, whatever you want to call it. Signed up for Honor Lock. It looks like most of you have done that, but certainly you have to do that before you attempt the first test for points. It's not for a while, but it doesn't matter. You have to have completed signing up for Honor Lock and all that to be able to take test number 1, to be able to take that second test. So it's a requirement. You literally won't be able to take it if you don't. Several of you have signed up for one-on-one opportunity to speak with me. The whole point of that was to sign up for it. This week, it didn't have to happen this week. If you go to the one-on-one sheets, you'll see that it covers. It goes for a couple of weeks, so you can sign up for that next week or this coming week, I should say, and the week after that. There are time slots available, so please do that if you haven't done that already. I think it's important to do. And then make sure you complete your D12 profile. Okay, so if you've done all those things, you're in really good shape. So let's go ahead and talk about what's going on with this week's work. I'll pull up the schedule. And as you can see, those are all things you wanted to be able to have done, and that's great. Now, in week 2, you're going to cover textbook chapters 2 and 3. I'm going to show you what to look for in there, and that you'll complete your homework, which is due basically next Sunday, a week from today, when I'm making this announcement. So, the thing about homework is go through it, do the ones that are assigned, and when by the time next Sunday rolls around, you'll find out what your grade was, but you'll see exactly what happens. The feedback you get through the homework is really great. The textbook does that very, very well. So it tells you exactly what you did wrong, things to look for, maybe concepts to kind of bone up on if you need to do that. So that's fantastic. So make sure you do that. You'll be able to see that after the deadline date, which is next Sunday at 11:59. So next week you'll be able to see exactly what happened with the homework that you did for chapters 2 and 3. Okay. Let me pull that up here. Hang on one second. I'm going to pull up the. So here's what it looks like when you get to Connect. You can get at your homework problems here. You can also access them directly in D2L. But either way, this is how you get at it. It gives you the due dates and that kind of thing. And when they are timed, but you have plenty of time to do it. It's not a big deal. But I want you to make sure you understand what you're trying to learn. You can certainly go back and look things up in the textbook in the chapter you just read, because that's what all these things will relate to. So you have to do your chapter 2 problems and your chapter 3 problems by next Sunday night, as you can see. Okay, now let me pull this up. This is the text. This text is a really good text for lots of reasons, but One of the things I really like about it is it gives you a lot of additional information. I'm going to encourage you to pay real close attention to how to solve these things and do the work in Excel, because that's really where most of the work is done, quite honestly, outside of the classroom. In finance, you're going to work in Excel a lot. So I strongly encourage you to use that. And frankly, it's a lot. If you know your Excel at all, it's just a whole lot easier than using the calculator or the tables. So I strongly encourage you to do that, and you're allowed to do that to do the homework. Okay, so I'm going to cover off on the learning objectives for the chapter. Now, Chapter 2 is a review of accounting. If you've taken accounting, this will seem like old hat. If you have not taken accounting, it's just important to understand the concepts and what's being described in this, because while finance is not accounting, both accounting and finance use and work on the same set of reports or statements, if you will, and you need to understand what those statements are in order to do the things that we're going to talk about in the rest of the class. So, in the review, you want to be able to explain what an income statement measures. You want to be able to talk about what price-earnings ratio means and how that shows a relative valuation of earnings. People use price-earnings ratios all the time to compare companies to potentially invest in. Understand that the balance sheet shows assets and financing of those assets with debt and equity. The main difference between the income statement and the balance sheet is what it purports to measure. So an income statement measures statistics over a period of time, and a balance sheet is kind of a snapshot of how things look at this moment in time. So that's a key difference between them. What statement of cash flows indicates, you can kind of the basic view of it here is good enough to do what we need to do, but cash flow statements and cash flow accounting is actually pretty intricate and complex. Recognize that depreciation provides a tax reduction benefit that increases cash flow, and so that's why depreciation is commonly used. So, so you get a rough overview of accounting when you look at Chapter 2, certainly. Now, Chapter 3 kicks off the section of the course that talks about financial analysis, and Chapter 3 gives us an overview of it. Financial analysis is a really important aspect of what financial professionals do with organizations. So, analysis is the key tool used to work through lots of different types of problems. So, and you're going to get a good view of a lot of those during this class. So here's what you want to learn in Chapter 3. You want to be able to recognize that ratio analysis provides a meaningful comparison of a company to its industry. Ratios are used frequently. You're getting an overview of them. There's a lot more of them, but they're basically broken down into three categories. And the three categories that are most frequently used are what we call profitability ratios, asset utilization ratios, liquidity ratios, and debt utilization ratios. Some of those are the reason I said three is there's they sometimes lump together a couple of these things, but it doesn't matter. So as it's reported in the text, there's four. So those are the key ratios to look at, and it makes a lot of sense when you look at them in terms of what they measure. But the important thing you do with ratios, and the whole point of having a ratio, is to show a relative view towards the performance of an organization that can be compared with other organizations. So it ends up being a very important thing to do and is used frequently in financial analysis. Now there's a kind of a standard view of, from an analysis standpoint, and it's called the DuPont system. I learned this when I took my first finance class. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but it gives a pretty solid view towards what are the true sources of return on assets and return to stockholders. Kind of digs beyond what just the ratios show you and that kind of thing. So pay close attention to that. You're going to look at trend analysis. And again, financial people use that all the time. It's a very important aspect of what they report on. And you want to be able to explain why reported income needs to be further evaluated, because there's lots of ways to make things look either profitable or not profitable, and isn't necessarily indicative of how the company itself or the organization itself is performing financially. So take a good look at that. This is the start of it. As we go on from here, you're going to get into some more other topics and some more depth, but this gives you a real good overview of what financial analysis is all about. Okay, so as always, I am happy to, if you get stumped on anything, absolutely reach out to me. Usually an email is not a great idea, because unless an email can be answered with a yes or a no, it's probably not going to be easily, things aren't going to be easily explained through email. So set up a time we can meet in the virtual office in D2L, and just give me 3 times in a D2L email, please. Give me 3 times you can meet, and one of them will work out, and I'll set that up and get us all scheduled and all that kind of thing. But don't hesitate to reach out and ask. And I also strongly encourage you to do the readings and the homework early in the week, even though it's not due till Sunday. If you get snagged on something, it doesn't create a panic mode and say, like, oh shit, I don't have time to really figure this out. So, okay? So I really strongly encourage that you do that. If you have any questions at all, please let me know, and the best of luck this week. Actually, I want to add one more thing, is that there'll be some announcements coming out this week in terms of some of the ins and outs and what to do when doing homework and that kind of thing, what things you should look to do that might help you be successful doing it. So watch for those announcements. There'll be a couple of them or 3 of them coming out this week. Okay? But don't hesitate to reach out with any questions if you have them. Best of luck.